Good morning once again. Thank you very much for staying with New Day on TV3. Time now for the newspaper review segment. My guests are already seated. It's a packed house. And certainly we'll be looking at the various front pages of the papers that we have today. I think the Daily Graphic is late today, but would nonetheless go on without the graphic. When it comes, we would also review that as well. We'll start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. The front page story says fresh violence at NPP headquarters. And it comes with an urban bus that was vandalized by the invisible forces. That's what we are told. Also, on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, Ameri engineers and planners deny wrongdoing. There's also a story there that says Kolebu nurses want CEO axed. And then Kumasi police find more guns. That's what the Ghanaian Times is saying. To the back page, and peasant farmers told to change perception. And then also health alert, critically examine meat bought at cold stores. Okay. Then the Business Finder front page says economy worse off in 2015, analysts declare. And there's a picture there of the president and then also the finance minister, Seth Tekwe. Still on the front page of the Business Finder, bank loans and advances decline. Bank loans and advances decline. That's what the Business Finder is saying. The Today newspaper says PPP is Amenfi West winner. Really? And then also Christian Council kicks against tariff hikes and EC boss faces Parliament today. That's what the Today newspaper is saying. We'll take a look at that as well. The Daily Guide newspaper front page says Ameri fights back over $600 million scandal. And it comes with a picture of Sheikh Ahmed bin Dalmouk bin Juma Al Maktoum of the Ameri Group. And then also Unity Oil boss picks UN award. And NDC thugs on rampage in Amenfi West. Okay, so I guess there's fair representation of what the papers are saying, or we've given you a fair idea of what the various papers have on their front pages. Let me introduce my guests, then we can go on to the discussion. On my extreme left, we have Dr. Ahmed Jinapo. He is a senior lecturer at the University of Education, Winneba. Beside him, we have Nana Fredua Opambo Ajiman. He's the executive chairman of Invest Pro, and he's also joined us for the discussion this morning. On my immediate right, we have a lady joining us. It normally used to be our Thursday men's affair, but today we have a lady joining us, Kathleen Addy. Kathleen Addy. She is a communications consultant. Thank you for coming. And then also we have Yao Opong, legal practitioner and lecturer at Central University. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
In fact, lady and gentlemen. I wanted to say gentlemen and lady. Okay. All right. To start with, I think the discussion about the president's accounting to the people, the press conference or address, seemed still to be in the media. Let me start with you, Dr. Jinapo. The president, according to what he said, has done well, and although he's not asking us to clap for him, he thinks that they have achieved quite a number of things, and a number of projects are still underway, under construction and all of that, and hopefully by end of year and halfway through next year, we should be having some good advancements. What do you make of, what would be your assessment of the president's position on what they've done?
Let me say good morning to your cherished viewers, and let me use this opportunity to congratulate one of our affiliate institutions, DHI College of Education and Science, and in Kumasi. They are having their maiden graduation today. Okay. To graduate a number of students in early childhood education, and I'll be going there from here. So let me congratulate them for that. But Martin, your question is quite a loaded question. I don't know if I'm in a position to give an assessment, because an assessment of the president at this particular point in time will be a verdict, and that will be influenced. That will influence the thinking of most people, because you agree with me that what we normally do here on Thursdays is to try as much as possible to get people who do not swing to any of the political pendulum to at least give their perspectives. But that said, let's try to interrogate, as a matter of fact, the topic in terms of what the president said he wants to do, accounting to the people. And when you say you are accounting to the people, what it means is that you are subjecting yourself to the people for them to more or less critique you. This is the mandate that you gave me, this is what you asked me to do, and this is what I've been able to do. And as you said, the president said that he's done well. I mean, I don't know if the president will say he hasn't done well. It's quite obvious that he'll say he's done well. But at the end of the day, I don't know if this is the first time that we are having such a thing. I quite remember under Kofo, we used to have something known as Meet the Press, where the president used to meet the press, is it annually or whatever it is. And with that, people had the opportunity of, especially the media, asking the president questions on pertinent issues. But with this, I don't know if that was the case, because what I do know is that the president came to speak, and unfortunately, I didn't get opportunity of listening to the president, but I did hear, some snippets of it later on, and I did hear some commentary from other people, such as the minority leader. For me, as a person, I think the most important occasion that the president will get to more or less account to the people will be November 7, 2016. November 7, 2016 will be where the good people of this country, as I've always said, where you have a certain president contesting against, always a referendum on the performance of the president. The good people of this country would then more or less pass a judgment on the president and his government as to whether he's been able to do well or not. That said, before we get to 2016, I think, Martin, you and I know that there are certain things that, at least as a people, we do know in today's Ghana. One of them being the issue of power shortage and doomsday and stuff like that. I would say, with all degree of honesty and objectivity, that look, even though there've been a lot of investment when it comes to the energy sector, even though today we have issues pertaining to the investments, i.e. Amari, which I think we'll be discussing, we have a lot of challenges when it comes to that, because doomsday is still around.
Right.
And if you quantify the effect of doomsday, it's something that you can never run away from. That said, there are a number of empirical investments and projects that are ongoing that you can attest to. But at the end of the day, I've always said that, look, for me, my interest is to see, one, a stabilized economy, a stabilized currency, energy being stable and reliable, and most importantly, sustainable, not artificial, where you have the lights of being gone for what, maybe 6-7 months, and that's it. So let's wait and see what happens. 2015 December is still far away, even though it's less than a year. But we wait and see. We'll see what happens, and most importantly, we also want, in 2016, when we are going for the president or not, we will just oppose his performance with what the opposition brings and how the opposition is organized and how prepared they are to take over from the president if given the opportunity.
All right, Nana.
Martin, thank you so much. I'd like to take a cue from Dr. Jinapo and wish my son, who turned a year a couple of days ago, a very happy birthday. May he live to outdo me and be a better person.
That's the case.
I know.
I am glad Dr. Jinapo mentioned 3 specific issues that are of great concern to him: energy, the economy, the sustainability of the city, and the environment as a whole. And if I should limit my answers to your question based on the feedback from Dr. Jinapo, I'll start with the economy. Martin, in 2013, the monetary policy rate of the Bank of Ghana was 15%. That is, sorry, in 2012, 15%. In 2013, the monetary policy rate was 16%. Currently, it is at 26%. Currently. Therefore, if you look at these indicators, it tells you clearly that what the Bank of Ghana is trying to do is to restrict borrowing in order to slow down inflation. But prudence and common sense will tell you that when your economy, like Ghana, is in recession, this is not the time to increase policy rates. America, since 2006, is supposed to increase interest rates for the first time this week because of the economic meltdown that they had. So Dr. Wampe's policies has consistently failed his master, from the aborted $10,000 limit to the rushed knee-jerk reaction of imposing restrictions on foreign exchange unless you're traveling, to consistent borrowing and crowding out the private sector in terms of access to credit. At the moment, the least you can get for a private sector company going into a bank would be about 33%. How do you expect any organization to be vibrant, to support its capital infrastructure, to be able to advance the course of its company's objectives when it is borrowing at 33%?
But is it that on the front of the economy there hasn't been any success at all? And if any, do you think it is significant enough to be, at least for us to acknowledge as a country?
I think the president means well. Clearly, you have to give credit to President Mahama. He means well, he's vibrant, he's somebody who is very passionate about Ghana. It shows in everything that he does. My concern, and it says that a king is only as good as the counsel he keeps. My concern has been the management that he's put in place and how reactive and positive they have been in terms of accounting to him. Clearly, you take somebody like Dr. Kwabena Donkor. If you remember, not too long ago, this was the statement that was made by him by Ghana Gas. And I'll read it to you, Martin, if you just indulge me. This was after the impasse between Ghana Gas and the Ministry of Power coming out to say that there was a situation where Ghana Gas had temporarily halted the supply of gas to Abuazit onward to VRA, and the situation will be addressed in the short future due to the massive load shedding. This was the response by Ghana Gas. Ghana Gas finds the attempt by the Minister of Power to mislead the public on this matter disingenuous and unhelpful. You have two people working for the same institution within the same industry, appointed by the president, and one person telling the other person that he should come out with the truth for a change. Dr. Kwabena Donkor,
disagreements.
It's not disagreement. It says that to mislead, if you mislead, is to lie. And they find his treatment of this matter disingenuous and unhelpful.
Yeah.
The consistency of the inconsistency of Dr. Kwabena Donkor. If the president should take a very close look at him, from the remarks he made about the president, the insulting posture of his remarks during the FM interview in Kumasi, to his involvement in Ameri, because
by extension,
I am saying that the president means well, but I believe that in his accountability, where I will find his shortfalls would be how his ministers have been able to deliver based on his vision. And clearly, with all that he intends to do, he's only one person who can do so much.
Okay.
That is, I mean, take a cue at even the budget.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Martin,
There are.
I think you gave Dr. Ginapo a lot of time. So
no, you have also had an equal amount of time. But we'll look at some other issues. Let me take the front of my other two guests. Yes, starting with you, Kathleen.
Well, I would like to emphasize on the whole thing about accounting. As Dr. Ginapo said, I think greater value, the people of Ghana would have got greater value if they had had the opportunity to subject their leader to scrutiny. Because, I mean, self-scrutiny, what results do you expect from self-scrutiny? Most likely it will be positive. I think that you get the best results for scrutiny when you subject yourself to the people that you are accountable to. So, for me, it would have been better if this whole giving account event had taken a different format, a forum for question and answer. You could get your representatives at the regions, the regional ministers to hold forums. You could get identifiable groups to send questions about what is concerning them as Ghanaians. We have unions, we have students, we have opposition, we have parliamentarians, we have civil society organizations. These are all groups of people who, though unelected, do speak for the ordinary person on the street. So I think that we would have got greater value for this scrutiny if more voices had come on board in terms of what the people want.
Okay.
What the people want. I mean, for example, I am really concerned about agriculture and the fact that it's in decline. This being a country that is mainly agricultural still, and knowing that basically in order for any country to develop, agriculture is one of the key components that needs to, the fact that we are at this point importing foodstuffs from even Sahelian regions. If we are sitting here and it's raining and you are importing tomatoes and onions from the desert, I think that, or from drier regions, I think that things like that, are more useful to the ordinary Ghanaian, the peasant farmer, and all of that. So some ideas around those sorts of things would have been helpful to me. Manufacturing is also in decline as a result of electricity, high cost of doing business, high cost of raw materials, high cost of all kinds of things, labor issues.
So on the whole, these are the, if you take it maybe sector by sector, the president.
All I'm saying is that he should have given opportunity to people to ask what concerns them, as opposed to come and say.
Do you not get the feeling that majority of it, well, not like speaking for the people, but everything will be looked at through the eyes of a Dumso lens?
Absolutely. So that should tell you that is what is most important to the people. You are supposed to respond to the people. Do you understand? So if that is what is most important to the people, that's where they expect answers from. And really, that is where they will judge you on. So great that you've done a whole bunch of other things, but if it's not the primary concern, that's not to say it's not a big concern. If it's not the primary concern of people, then once you are unable to solve the problem that most affects people, people's livelihoods. There was something about chicken or buying meat from cold stores. Cold stores, so many people who are in the cold store business have had to close down. People have lost jobs. People in even the beverage sector, so many things have happened as a result of this energy. It is their thing. So if we are not getting that resolved, then it has ripple effects on all other aspects of our lives, and it makes it difficult, to be able to say that I have done so well, when the main problem is still not solved.
Council.
Oh yes, thank you.
Martin, I know Council would take. I just wanted to ask something.
Okay, go on.
Regarding agriculture.
Council and lecturer.
Because I know Council is going to lecture.
Okay, yes.
Regarding what the wonderful lady Kathleen said, growth in agriculture has reduced by 12.8% over the past 4 years.
Absolutely.
And currently, agriculture's contribution to GDP has declined from 28.4% to 19.9%.
Yep.
And 70% of your population are in agriculture.
Yes.
This year, for the first time in recent history, budgetary allocation to agriculture has been reduced by 10%. Genetically modified organisms or food is now being introduced. Even in my farm area around Ejura, you have USAID, DuPont, Monsanto doing experimental farms and showing how high yielding these GMO hybrid maize can deliver. This is dangerous because people do not understand the implications of the GMO. The seeds cannot be replanted in the following season. So each and every season, you need to go back to the USA to import your seeds. Where are we going as a country? And when people talk about issues, it is not because one is lambasting the government. It is taking surgical, empirical facts, prosecuting them and making sure that the government sit on its toes. Okay. And the last point I want to make is the growth of GDP, Martin. People think that what is going on is a result of some ailment or something that happened. 2012, GDP grew at 8.8% under the able leadership of Dr. Kwabena Duffuor. 2013, it came down to 7.3%. 2014, 4%. This year, it's gone down to 3.9%. This is Ghana for you today.
Okay.
Council, I'm sorry I took your time.
I think the Holy Spirit revealed to you that I was going to take this same line.
Amen.
You are now
I went to the seminary.
There's agreement around the table.
Anyway, so I think the best way to assess any government in Ghana is what they say about themselves. And again, the best way is what the prescription given by the Constitution or the people of Ghana through the Constitution. And it's just the budget. All right? The budget. When you take the budget, there is enough information. And you see, the budget, strictly speaking, under the Constitution, it is what the president is saying that he has done, and not what the finance minister is saying he has done. Because in Ghana, as I keep on saying, powers of government are vested in one person alone, the president. So all that the Minister of Finance said in Parliament, it is what the president is saying about himself and his performance. All right, and so as Nana said, I mean, I was going to say that I do not see the necessity for this particular booklet or book, because I have been talking about the Suhuma Peja Road. The last time I used it, it is being done. I don't know. I don't need any book to tell me that the road is being fixed. If you take Nkoko Abrim Kade in Tronai and New Abrim Road, it is cutting off that part of Ghana from us. I don't need anybody to write a book to tell me that the road is not done. All right? Now, so I don't even know why that is necessary. Because all that is contained in the book, at least what I heard, have already been sanctioned by the budget. It is contained in the budget. We all have copies. So what was therefore the need, with all due respect? And the last time I heard, there was a word that had received presidential sanction, mediocrity. The cataloging of these so-called development is an exercise in mediocrity. I would rather say in futility. I think mediocrity is maybe not glorified enough. All right. Okay. So yes, I use the road by the Ridge Hospital almost twice a day, and I see what is going on. Is that what we are talking about as being an extraordinary thing that we expect from our government? And it's also because we think that development is all about seeing buildings and roads. The policies. I'm looking forward to a day that we will say that the road from Accra to Kumasi is ready. We want to lease portions of it to private persons. It is done elsewhere. 10 kilometers is leased to you for 20 years. So you see potholes in the morning, the next day in the morning, there's no pothole. Because the person is a private person and he's accountable. We take all the tolls, we understand they may be increased again. Mm-hmm. And sometimes right by the toll, you see big holes developed. And yet they are taking the money. You use Kumasi to Accra to Kumasi, almost 4 times you have to pay tolls. And you ask yourself, what are we applying it for? And so, fine, I mean, we can do all this, but the question really is that enough? Let us take the budget. As Nana said, the GDP, I mean, from 2008, then it rose 2008 of 8-point-something%, it rose to about 9% in 2009, then to 2010, about that same level. 2011, because of oil and gas, we tickled ourselves and we're just laughing, claiming that we are the fastest growing economy. 6%, 6+% of it was all from oil and gas, and the investment that had been made at the Jubilee field. We added all that to it, but we actually grew for about 7%.
So I mean, so
then it declined. Then it declined, and it has been declining. Agric is worse. Even in 2012, we pumped quite substantial amount of petroleum revenue into agric and manufacture. They are declining again. And so when you want...
So what is it that we are not getting right?
No, I won't say we. I mean, those
what
who are entrusted
Exactly.
their management and we are paying them for. Number one, Nana lauded President, fine. But I think that the root cause is even who he chooses to be his ministers in the first place. Who he chooses is as important, even more important than whether they are performing or not. Because it is all also based on this same falsehood which has acquired currency, that I can only choose people who are affiliated, as it were, to the party I'm also affiliated to. But the Constitution says choose more than 50% from amongst members of Parliament. It didn't say that choose people who have a card similar to yours and
So
belonging to a political party.
It could be from any side of the House in Parliament.
In recent times, people have held positions for almost 4 years without even a reshuffle. You see, so when you give people the impression or the comfort that they have tenure of office, they don't care whether they perform or not. I mean, the governor has been there, he's not performing. To my satisfaction, I can say so because it is my tax that is used to pay the Minister of Finance is the same. Because if he was working for me and you set a target for yourself and you are not able to meet those targets consistently, and that is what the budget he himself reads is talking about himself and his performance, I do not see why. Even 2 years ago, the president said, oh, well, at least he's reported to have said that some of his own party members say he should sack the Minister of Finance. Yeah. It's because they were dissatisfied with his performance. So when you are working with people...
It could also have been because what we also heard about that issue was that there's some people who wanted
I'm going for the official report.
Some deals which he
I'm going for the official report about what the minister says he has done. And I'm saying that to the extent that growth alone is declining, and we are not appointed to recount problems or oversee problems. Okay. After all, we were promised for a better Ghana.
So they've done well, but not to your satisfaction.
Those are not my words.
No, those are
not my words. I'm saying that when you promise that something should be better, then it is not even enough to put me to maintain the status quo. Okay. Now, not only has the status quo not been maintained, it is even worse, declining. Okay. So that is the best way to judge a person, and I say that admissions, even in law, is the best way to give a judgment, because that is what he says I have done, and I wouldn't go for any other unofficial document. The budget is official enough, and it contains all that we can use as guide to assess people.
Okay. Martin, quickly, if you don't mind. I think a lawyer. The point is that when it comes to the governor of the Bank of Ghana, the president cannot just remove him.
I know.
Yeah, that's number one.
I know.
Number two, in terms of this issue of bringing people from the other side to join Ghana, I mean, from picking people not necessarily being card-bearing members to serve in your Ghana, it's a noble idea. But you agree with me that today, one of the reasons why Mr. Japan is being sacked from, what do they call it? Is being removed as the general secretary. Has been removed. Is because of his supposed affiliation with what? With what do they call it? With government.
It's not affiliation. I mean relationship. No relationship.
So what was
I'm coming. One of the no.
It's not affiliation.
The spokesperson issue. Nana, the spokesperson to Kobana is being suspended because it is alleged he was found in Ibrahim's house.
No.
That is it. That is a fact. Let me make my point. The point is this: in this country, we are such a polarized country politically, such that it is always, and it's on record, that PC appeal, whatever his name is. He said publicly that the president approached him to be appointed as an ambassador, and he said no. You understand what I'm saying? beyond that, this issue of budget, we all know that a budget is a yearly stipulation of what happens in the country. The president was accounting to the people for the past 3 years. Do you know what I'm saying? The Ridge Road that we are talking of. Somebody in Fufuso, the hospital, the Ridge Hospital. Somebody in Fufuso doesn't know what Ridge Hospital is. How would the person get to know about this Ridge Hospital if it is not documented? My position on this accountability is that accountability becomes useless if the people whom you are accounting to do not get the opportunity to what? To quiz you. And that should have been the bedrock of this whole accountability business. So if the president thinks that, look, this, and the other is a campaign strategy. I mean, what are we talking about? Okay. It's a campaign too.
So we move on to the other issues being reported by the various newspapers we have. I think the Ameri issue has also been in the media for the last.
Ameri or
Ameri is like minus the CA. So it would have, if you add the CA, it would have been America, but without the CA, so it's just Ameri. And the latest twist, as the Ghanaian Times is reporting, is that engineers and planners and Ameri have all denied acts of wrongdoing. And let me just read what's saying that the United Arab Emirates-based Ameri Group LLC has denied engaging in dubious deals with Ghana in relation to the power plants it procured for the country to solve the energy crisis. Also, the management of engineers and planners have denied any wrongdoing. In a statement issued in Accra on Tuesday, engineers and planners said it was not in any way involved and had no role in America's contract with the government of Ghana. Starting with you, Nana, I'm sure we've also followed this discussion, one about the agreement between Ameri and then the government of Ghana and all of that, and the latest statements that have been released. I actually read the one Ameri released saying that they are a responsible company and will not involve themselves in any act of wrongdoing and will not, dupe Ghana for any reason. How does this sit with you to start with?
Martin, I'll start first with engineers and planners. I think the posture of the opposition ruling party to attack engineers and planners without substance or merit is quite sensational. If the opposition ruling party has anything of substance that they feel merits any accusation, then they should take engineers and planners to court. Because we are in a country where sensationalism tends to be the order of the day. And that is why, if you've noticed, I always like to back whatever I say with factual statistics, because those figures don't lie. Certain things are not subjective, and you need to look at the actual situation. So for the purpose of your question, I will put aside engineers and planners and deal with the matter on the table, which is Ameri. Somewhere in February this year, the Committee on Mines and Energy came to Parliament requesting for a waiver of Standing Order 81. What is Standing Order 81? It says that no motion shall be debated until at least 48 hours have elapsed between the date on which the notice of the motion is given and the date on which the motion is moved. Somehow there was this rush, this urgency to get this Ameri agreement approved by Parliament. I guess it had even been approved at committee level, probably just had to be ratified at Parliament. I didn't hear the opposition NPP party parliamentarians walking out of Parliament
or holding seconded it.
Exactly, or holding a press conference, or jumping on the streets to announce that this is the most injurious contract that the government has entered into. I didn't hear that.
What is the injury here?
The injury here is Ameri has since the award. Okay, the injury here is this. The crux of the matter is the ministry came out to say that if we are to go out and buy these 10 turbines, we as the government do not have the money to buy these turbines. So we have contracted with a company called Ameri, who is ready and willing to lease these 10 turbines to us, and there will be monthly payments that we have to make. And secondly, if we were to go out and buy the turbines from General Electric, it will take them about 6 months, but these people can deliver to us within a period of 2 to 3 months, and hence the urgency of getting these turbines into Ghana. Martin, these turbines arrived in Ghana October 24th. That is 10 months after this motion was moved. They were installed between November 23rd and 25th. That is 11 months thereafter. That was when Abuazi Gas had shut down for Ameri to connect their gas pipes on the request of VRA. Up to today, whether these turbines are delivering the 250 megawatts or not, I'm yet to be told, and I doubt that very much. So going into almost 12 months after this motion was moved, we still haven't received a single kilowatt of energy from the Ameri plant. This deal is supposed to cost us $850,000 US a month for the 10 turbines. That is $8.5 million a month for the 10. At the end of each year, we are supposed to pay $102 million US.
20.
And at the end of the 5-year period, we are supposed to pay $521 million plus variable cost annually of 16.6, which moves this deal to $600 million US at the end of 5 years. Martin, who is supposed to pay for this? You and I.
And that is just
this is just Ameri. This is just
megawatts.
250 megawatts.
250 megawatts.
So if you divide 250 megawatts, just like, and I digress a little, at this point in time in Ghana, our total debt stock is 100 billion. If you divide that by every Ghanaian citizen, assuming Ghana population of 25 million, do you know how much each individual owes? Because these debts are contracted on behalf of you and I. Every Ghanaian, based on a total debt in Ghana right now, the 100 billion, owes 4 million Ghana cedis, which is $1 million US. Yes. 100 billion divided by 25 million is 4 million Ghana cedis, which is $1 million US. And the question is, if every Ghanaian had been given $1 million, do you think to work with, do you think we'll be in the state and condition that we are in today? So when we talk about accountability, and we are questioning about, so what should we do? It is the total mismanagement of the economy by people who ought to and should know better. How do you commit a country like Ghana with GDP growth of 3.9% currently to a 5-year debt of $600 million US, Martin? Does this make sense? This is the deal we have. So I would wish the opposition would not even get into the issue of ENP and the president's son. And that is not the issue. The issue is about Kwabena Donko and this contract that he signed, perhaps on the blind side of His Excellency, the President. This deal stinks.
No.
Okay. All right.
This deal stinks.
Let me bring in.
I mean, because the buck stops somewhere.
With the president.
I don't excuse the president. I'm sorry. He appointed his ministers. He needs to take responsibility for their actions. I'm just saying that you can sit here and make excuses for him, but I don't think that's fair to the people of Ghana, because they elected him because they assumed that he would he had sound judgment, will make sound appointments, will appoint people who will deliver on his vision that he sold to Ghanaians for them to elect him. So the buck stops with the president, and we must not shy away from that.
The Mary issue seem to have arrived just like the power badges themselves, and then the discussion is on. I am actually taken aback by some of the revelations.
The figures
that Nana has
are
mentioned.
mind blowing,
yes.
right? The figures are mind blowing. I always like to look at things from the citizen's point of view, and so I'm happy that the figures have come out that actually each Ghanaian owes $1 million. So when we have to look at our lives, at our economy, and see if really truly, you know, if you owe $1 million and things are going in a particular way for you, you can say to yourself that I owe $1 million, but because everything is okay, I have a job, I'm well paid, you know, I have, I'm guaranteed good health because we have a good health system. Right. My children have a good future because there's a good education system. There's a decentralized government. I have access to all kinds of services. I have accountable leaders. My roads are smooth. Then if I owe $1 million, I know I can work to pay. But if I and every single individual in this country owes $1 million and our lives are as they are, then seriously, there are a lot of questions to answer. For me, as far as this contract is concerned, I would ask for a lot more transparency. I think the contract should be made public, plus all the appendices, and even if possible, the minutes of the deliberations at the committee level. You know, the people must see these things. You know, the people must see these things. When people are elected into government and our resources given to them, it does not belong to them for them to use at will and tell us stories later. They must, at every point in time, remember that they are there to serve, and because they are there to serve and the money does not belong to them and belongs to us, we have a right to ask questions. When people ask questions, I think it's unfair on the side of government appointees and government people to act as if, you know, one, we have no right, or two, we are being unfair. I mean, if ask any of the government appointees, will their eyes not be red if people took their money and did not deliver? The people have every right to make these demands. The people have a right to make these demands. This is the democracy, meaning that you know, you are governing for people. They have given you a mandate. We have a social contract here. So I'm sorry, no excuses for Mr. President. All this is on his watch, so he needs to, you know, also take responsibility. The buck does stop with him. Every action of the finance minister, every action of the power minister, every action of the energy minister, these are his appointees. After all, our constitution gives Mr. President free hand to appoint. So if of all the people in Ghana, and Ghanaians are, I mean, there are so many good quality, brilliant people. And for all the people in Ghana, these are the ones he picked. It is a reflection of his judgment, and we must accept it as such.
Okay,
I agree.
Council.
Yes, I mean, I would like to precede my submission by referring to Article 41, that the exercise and enjoyment of rights and freedoms is inseparable from the performance of duties and obligations, and accordingly, it shall be the duty of every citizen, and I'm referring to F, to protect and preserve public property and expose and combat misuse of public funds and property. And we will do that, because if we don't, then we would have breached this very important provision of the Constitution, Article 41. Combat, very important word. I mean, just when you take this agreement, and for me, I won't blame Ameri. I'm even surprised that they had to issue that disclaimer or so. Who said they are in the position to defraud Ghana? Just a small, I understand that group, part of the group that is really responsible for this. It's a single purpose entity. Single purpose. How does he think that, or how do they think that they are in the position to defraud us? They shouldn't even think about it. If they heard that from others, I'm telling them that they should not even think about it. If there's any problem with this, it is coming from us. All right? Look at one important provision from the agreement. That the government of Ghana shall not assign, sell, pledge, or hypothecate this agreement or any of its rights under this agreement, or sublease any of their energy equipment in whole or in part, without the prior written consent, and I want to just highlight this, without the prior written consent of Ameri Energy, and then they put it in bracket, which may be granted or withheld by Ameri in its sole discretion. Let us see in the case of Ameri.
And Council, before you go there, Martin, a very noteworthy part of this contract. Ameri is supposed to get, based on this analysis, $600 million US. After the execution of this contract, Ameri has now subcontracted the whole of this contract to a Greek company called Meta. For how much? The Greek company itself has come out, issued a press release that they have received this subcontract agreement for $350 million US.
Yes. So they are making 600 and the subcontracted institution is
they have given. So right now it's not Ameri. We have nothing to do with Ameri literally anymore. Ameri is just holding the contract between us and that is why council is going where he's going. Because Ameri knew precisely what they were doing right from day one. How can a sovereign nation get into a contract with an entity and subjugate such rights and privileges to that entity?
And listen to what said about Ameri. Ameri Energy may assign its rights and obligations regarding this agreement in part or in whole to one or more of its subsidiaries or affiliates with the prior written consent of the government of Ghana, such consent not to be unreasonably withheld. If they, Ameri, want to do so, then if we, Ghana, we want to assign part of our own, then it will be subject to the discretion, the consent of Ameri, and the provision that it should not be unreasonably withheld does not apply to them. So if you want to sublet, they say no, you cannot. If they want to, if Ghana want to sublet, they say no, you cannot. But if they want to, and we say no, they say no, you cannot unreasonably withheld. And you see, when you are taught these things in school, and with all due respect, those who teach you then become the ones to implement it. And I don't want to hear people say that, oh, why don't you have good lawyers? Don't you have resourceful people? The point is that there is something wrong in the system that don't even enable or disable people with all these fine ideas to implement them. And especially reading this and knowing people who are part of this whole negotiation. I don't blame any of them, but I think there is something fundamentally wrong inhibiting, all right, the application of all these ideas. Look, some of these people who drafted this are taught by these same Ghanaians. Some of them, this kind of contract, they are specialized areas of the law.
As it stands now, and clearly we've heard that there are some moves by the minority in parliament to either call for a review of the contract and all. Can we do anything about it as a
listen, you know what?
Contractually?
If I were the president, I would be worried. You understand? If so many issues have been raised over this contract, you know, I think a concerned president who's on top, who knows that he's ultimately responsible for any mess, will pick it up and say, you know what, my guys who I appointed, come here and explain this to me again. Are we getting value for money? Is everything above board? You know, so that you can come out and say, listen, the people of Ghana who voted for me, we have heard the concerns that have been raised. We appreciate the concerns that have been raised. This is our explanation. I will appreciate that. Okay. I will appreciate a government that is that concerned.
You see, there is something called stabilization clauses, all right, which really bind the parties. So, for example, the next government, whether this or another, or even the next parliament, will not be in the position to amend it. But we know that there is another conflicting, if you like, policy or doctrine called the economic equilibrium. And that, especially in petroleum agreements, and as this one also, that is also in. That if we think that circumstances beyond our anticipation, if you like, have occurred now, we are going to amend it. But we will also, if that will reduce or diminish your benefit, then you can be placated, as it were, or you can be replaced with another, let's say, a reduction in the tax. All right? But when you look at this, it's like an entity has tied your hands behind your back. You know why this right to lease without even with her consent by which cannot be withheld, is that matter, they are the professional experts. And Mary only facilitated it. They are not manufacturers. They actually got it from GE.
And we couldn't have gotten it from GE directly, because that was
when
I told that.
I heard one of the ASA representatives that these turbines, they are like tomatoes. They are on the market.
You can get it anywhere.
You can get it from anywhere. But the point is, when I see things like this, that is why I feel so much pain. There's another concept called rent seeking. Very huge, very more dangerous than corruption. When on the face of it, you think people are doing the right thing. And I believe that we did not go to GE directly because we will not be able to effectuate the benefits of rent seeking, which benefit only individuals. Why will you rent a property through an agent when the landlord is capable of dealing with you directly? Why should you go and pay 5% to an agent in addition to what you pay to the landlord? When the landlord is prepared, when if for example you can get key soap, all right, from the manufacturers, why should you go to, with all due respect, Makola, to go and buy? So the point and the time, in fact, they said that GE would delay within 9 months, I think, and that these people will be able to get it for us within 3 months. But we were all going to buy from the same GE. So there were a lot of, but in conclusion, I'm saying that as it stands now, one, it will really cost us a lot in view of this kind of contract. Is one of the contracts that are cast in diamond, not in stone, cast in diamond. And
very little or nothing can be done about
it. And I'm saying that,
and the turbines are here.
They are here.
So we are locked. We are locked in.
With you, what have they done wrong? If I'm a lawyer, when I'm negotiating a deal, just a moment. If I'm negotiating a tenancy agreement for the landlord, I will not even put in it that you have the right to sublet it. It is the lawyer on the other side who will say that no, he should be able to sublet it, and then I will say that not without my consent, and then he will say that that consent should not be unreasonably withheld. We see this made in favor of Ameri when he came to us, whether by inadvertence or
I think the surprise for many is also that the Deputy Attorney General's signature was also on.
Well, I won't mention names.
Let me
I think that gives it some kind of sanctity in terms of the law.
Okay, let me bring in.
First of all, Martin, when you listen to what is going on this Ameri issue in the media landscape and even here on this platform, you come to the conclusion that there's a verdict that this whole deal is a bad deal. That's the verdict. And as a matter of fact, some have even gone forward to ask for a repeal of the contract as been agitated by the main opposition. But Martin, you see, the point is this: I didn't know of Ameri. I had never heard of Ameri until recently, as Nana said, with regards to the statement that was issued by Atuabo regarding the minister, where they said the minister had lied. That was when Ameri came into the limelight. That being, there was a shutdown of Atuabo gas to redirect gas into Ameri. And most of us who had lights off said, okay, well, fine, if they are giving lights off because it's temporal, for us to have lights in future because Ameri is coming on. But then why not? I'm ready to wait. But I make reference to this because this whole issue of corruption, inflation of figures with regards to Ameri came into the limelight when a foreign newspaper, the Norwegian whatever, came out with this report. And when I read the report, it was a well-written empirical research report, even though I had my reservations with some of the things that they were talking about. But it had a lot of facts. It gave you facts that you could check. And the reason why I'm making reference to this is that Mama said this whole project started 12 months ago. 12 months ago, where were Ghanaians? When this whole project started, this negotiation,
No, but Ghanaians do not have access to information.
There are people who have access to it.
Well,
let me finish. There are people who have access to it. There are people who have access to it. This issue went to Parliament. It went through the various processes. Have we heard that
Did it go through the various processes?
It went. It went through the various processes. I have never heard anybody say that. It went through the committee, everything. It was debated, everything. So I asked myself. So when it was going through all these processes, nobody had even thought of it. Like, look, let me check. And even if the check was done and there was something wrong, nobody came into the public domain to mention it.
ASEP did.
ASEP did. Yes. But the point is that ASEP as a think tank was not was more or less not mandated to do that job.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? It was not mandated to do that. Let me finish.
When you're talking about it, the power badge agreement, has anybody seen it?
No.
That's the whole problem.
That's the IMF agreement.
You have seen it.
Listen, the point is this.
Appendices to this.
The point that I'm trying to make. Let me finish.
Have you seen it?
The point that I'm trying to make here is that at the end of the day, this country, look, this thing is like, today we'll talk about it, make noise. Tomorrow a new issue comes, then we sweep it under the carpet. Look, we can do better than that. What are they suing for? Even that is even more trivial than it. They are suing for the contract. They are not suing for the abrogation of the contract. They said they want to see the contract.
And the appendices.
That's what they want.
And the minutes of all the deliberations. So do you think that is important?
Let me finish. So if today Ghana...
Now what should we do?
I'm coming. If today Ghana as a country, we go to the IMF to ask for a loan for $900 million.
300 million a year.
330 million a year.
Subject to good behavior.
And do you know the conditions attached to it? No. There's a freeze on employment. There's a freeze on a whole lot of things.
But that's not the fault of the IMF.
No, come on, please.
Okay, you make it.
This. I mean, sometimes I'll make it talk. Yeah. So if as a country we can go to the IMF for such an amount of money, and with all the conditions, and we are going for a loan for 600 million, and nobody sat down and said, look, this thing, even though it's important, but we need to do more than that. And do you know even the irony about it? The irony is that this Ameri plan that is in, it has to operate such that a plant which is supposedly there will have to shut down. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense.
We don't even need it.
You understand? So at the end of the day, listen, we are going to go around, and I think, as Nana rightly said, look, I have always said that, look, in this country, even though the government is the body that is elected for a period of time to represent and implement and manage our money, it is also important for the opposition to keep the government on its toes and in check. It is very, very important and critical. You cannot, look, if you have a government that is giving the free way to operate, you have issues like this.
I won't just say opposition. All members of parliament.
Agreed.
They are not in government.
Agreed.
All members of parliament.
The utmost responsibility.
All members of parliament.
Lawyer,
they are representatives.
The utmost responsibility in keeping the
Ghana Gas Agreement has not received approval.
No, excuse me. I want you to finish that statement.
And the ultimate responsibility in keeping the government in check is the opposition.
And then I have to say that then the utmost responsibility to ensure that things get done right is the government. We must, we must apportion them.
You're not giving any money.
I'm not running away from that. What I'm saying is that, look, governance is what? It's a two-edged approach.
Right.
If you leave the government to run its own course on it, I mean, today the president said that he's done well. Why wouldn't he say so? You understand? But as I said, when I was talking about accountability, I gave a divergent opinion from Ose Chairman Sabunsu. Ose Chairman Sabunsu interrogate the issues that the president. I'll give you one of them. The Metro Mass buses. The president mentioned that. And Ose Chairman Sabunsu mentioned a different. He said, look, these Metro Mass buses that we are talking of, do you know how much it costs to rebrand one? At least it gives me the opportunity as a citizen to interrogate the issue. But if you don't get the divergent opinion, if this contract that was going, the opposition say, hey, watch it, this thing can be gotten for 220 million. We would have had these debates and we would have arrived at a conclusion before this thing is executed. So I think the responsibility lies on both parties.
All right, we are just about wrapping up this conversation. But before we go, I think one other disturbing issue in the last few days has been the increasing interception of arms and weapons by the police. And the latest is the one that happened in Kumasi again. It seems that a lot of the attention on these issues come from the Ashanti region. But as of yesterday, the police in the Ashanti region retrieved 2 more AK-47 assault rifles and 176 live cartridges and ammunition from a forest at Trede, near Kumasi. They are believed to be part of the weapons being kept in the house of in a house at Alaba, where the police raided on Monday. No arrests has been made as of now. But just following from the last major weapons, I mean, some sophisticated weapons that were found, and these ones, do you feel at peace? I hope that I'm not causing any fear and panic.
It's the truth. It's
very
worrying. But you see, the reality is that we are sitting as we are a peaceful little island in the midst of turmoil in the sub-region. There are troubles all around us, and so there are people who are merchants of death, who make their daily bread from fomenting some trouble so they can sell their wares. There are troubles all around us. There's trouble in Nigeria. There was some trouble in Burkina. Every coast is just coming out of troubles. We know about Liberia, Sierra Leone. There's a lot of ammunition in the system. And, as Ghana is heading towards elections, the people who do these things cynically will start, stocking goods all over the place, and so just in case, so that if trouble starts, they'll be able to sell it. I think that, obviously, we are happy that the police has been able to find this, but it makes me feel uncomfortable because I get a sense that there's more. I guess maybe this is just the tip of the iceberg, because after the arrest, we haven't really heard anything beyond the fact that the ammunition was found in the house and people were arrested. I guess they're still doing their investigations, but we need to get some more information about that. But it's really extremely very worrying, especially heading into an election year.
Oh yes, whilst I will commend the police command in Kumasi in particular for a good work done, I think I will lay the blame at the doorstep of the other intelligence institutions. People are paid to prevent things like this and not only to expose it. So these things are not facilities or machines that were manufactured in Ghana, at least looking at them. Or even if they were, why has anybody been able to set up such factories to manufacture them? So the immigration and those at the borders, what are we paying them for? If these things are able to come in, and Kumasi is right in the center of Ghana or close to it, how were they able to move these things from? One of them, we are told, is an Ivorian. It's possible he moved it. Some of the remnants of what they did to themselves are now finding their way here. Yeah. We are going to arm our own people. Let's not talk about election for now. Robbery. Right? These days, the least thing you hear somebody is killed. There's already despondency in the system. People is now having very little regard for their own lives. So suicide and so on. That means that if he doesn't care a lot about his life, he wouldn't care a hoot about your life. And that is why we should not only be applauding for the disclosure of these things, but how they are concealed and how they are transported or imported into the country or even manufactured here, for me, is more important to me. So please, let them just take more serious steps to prevent the importation of these things. And well, if they are able to find them in this manner, because these are very sophisticated machines. And well, Kofi Boachi, thanks, but please, it means there could be more than your eye can see.
There should be a lot more vigilance.
And yes, a lot more vigilance, especially at the borders.
All right, my time is up, but I'll give you 30 seconds.
I think just to These are sophisticated weapons, but
Yeah.
Yao did make mention of the immigration. It will interest you to know that the immigration by law are not even armed in Ghana. The border patrol, they don't hold arms. So it's something that government really have to look at. But at the end of the day, I mean, as you said, it's good the police is doing this, and we hope they do more.
They can do better. Okay, all right.
Martin, very quick one. This is respectfully to the new IGP. The focus ought to and should be on intelligence and preventive actions.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look at, if next year you are going to see the display of the police, assault weapons, water cannons, people wearing gadgets that you probably see in these alien movies, the police wielding machine guns, that is not,
Terrorizing
this is
protesters.
not
Terrorizing
Ghana.
protesters.
The focus,
Yes, plucking.
the
Yes.
focus,
Police are terrorists.
no, but I'm saying that,
Police eyes did not get plucked.
Oh, you don't. Okay.
It's terrorism.
You don't want Nana to.
so if I can, please listen. So the
Have
policy
you
of
met
the
the gentleman whose eyes was plucked out?
That is not terrorism.